Thank you so much. We're now going to go into our second round of questioning. And again, I appreciate the panel and all that you guys have been providing in regards to expertise and on-ground truth realities. We're going to continue to move on, going back to the Honorable Andy Biggs. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to just try to hit some quick questions. When Mr. Schaefer, you were talking to us earlier about moving to texting. The counter snipers were texting. What does that do with your ability to stay on glass?
Was a secondary or possibly even a third method of communication as it was utilized that day. The sniper teams in the law enforcement concept sometimes are not a team. Sometimes we're deployed into situations where we're a single operator. So we're not only responsible for the surveillance aspect of the service we provide, but also having that deadly threat ability on board. So that can be very distracting in that point in that day. That third level of communication would have pulled us away from our primary responsibilities to provide that deadly cover if needed.
Thank you. And Mr. Prince, you mentioned security bubbles. And I want you to elaborate on that because we've talked a little bit about the perimeter. And the perimeter seems oddly narrow in this particular instance. Can you talk about security bubbles and the perimeters here?
As Dan was talking, right, the normal of that bubble is out to 1,000 yards based on how far a capable sniper can take a shot. The fact is, clearly this bubble was less than 100 yards because they disregarded the industrial facility, the water tower, et cetera, and it speaks to the lack of seriousness of Secret Service leadership in how they were conducting these missions. I don't think they regarded Trump as a worthy protectee. They were doing the absolute minimum. And I say my greater concern is as you look at all the litany of failure is long and deep. And if it tips towards malice, that opens up an entirely different can of worms.
Right.
Because it's hard to be part of a republic with people that actually want to kill you.
Right.
Political disagreement, fine. Sell it at the ballot box. But if people don't want to sell it at the ballot box, then it gets sold by a cartridge box. And that's a very, very dangerous road to go down.
Right. And well, we could go on that. I know some of my colleagues might want to do that as well. But I want to get to one last point, and that before I run out of time, and that is another failure. I think everybody here is probably, everybody up on this group anyway, has been with a president or a protectee, and there's been some kind of security hold. I mean, we've just stopped, and you say you're going to hold. Why was there no security hold put on Trump at any time if you had some kind of individual? I mean, that Ben, as Mr. Schaefer has described, actually did arise to a threat level. Why was there no security hold put on President Trump? Why was he allowed to go on the stage? Why wasn't he taken down? Why didn't we see a pause?
That for me?
Yeah, Dan.
What makes your question even more impactful is every Secret Service site for a high threat level protectee has what they call a holding room, which you would guess is for holding the protectee. I see Congressman Gacy because it's actually called the holding room. Yeah. The holding room is for things just like this. The holding room is, let's say a congressman shows up and is a little late. There's an accident. They'll hold him in the holding room saying, enjoy, you all have been in it. None of this is new. You've been in the holding room. There's a Secret Service agent at the door. You guys have congressional hardpins. A staffer escorts you in. Every one of you has seen this or will in the Trump administration. This is not a mystery to anyone. Why was he put on what Eric had called, accurately so, the X? We use the exact same terminology as the military. The X is where that protectee or that limo with the protectee in it is. Why was he put on the X? You have an open threat. Ben has described, and your timeline lays out, was there for an hour. I'm not going to play any word games. Were they a threat or suspicious? Well, if you're a threat, it's because you're doing something suspicious. And if you're suspicious, it's because you could be a threat. These are silly, stupid word games. You know when it's not a threat? when your CSU or PI team goes and grabs the guy and determines he's not a threat. Until then, your question's accurate. You put him in the holding room, which is the point of the holding room.
Can I ask one more question? So I just want to follow that up. And you made the point earlier about counter surveillance. There were no counter surveillance teams there. But there's a public domain videos of him, Mr. Crooks, wandering around. Was there anything in his behavior wandering around that if he would have had a counter surveillance team there, it would have triggered an interaction with this guy earlier?
I'm going to answer yes, but respectfully, and I know you understand, the CSU and PI teams are trained in very specific behavioral indicators that would give off, and speaking about them openly would probably give operational knowledge to bad guys. I know you understand that, but the short answer is not only one, but many behavioral indicators he was giving off that if we could talk in a secure setting, you'd be like, how did they miss this? The CSU team would not have missed it if they were there, which they weren't.
Thank you so much, Mr. Biggs.